Okay, so today we're diving into something pretty juicy.
Oh, I love juicy. Lay it on me.
So we got our hands on some excerpts from Dr. Richard Cranium.
Ooh, Dr. Cranium. He's always good for, like, a good head scratch.
Right. And this time, he's really wading into some, well, let's just say controversial waters.
Hit me.
Traditional gender roles.
Okay.
In modern relationships.
Oof, yeah. That's a hot one.
Like really hot. And we've got listener reactions too, so we're going full deep dive on this one. What's sparking the debate? Where's the tension? What does it all even mean?
So basically, we're trying to figure out if this whole battle of the sexes thing is, like, actually a thing or just, a bunch of hot air.
Exactly. So to kick things off, Dr. Cranium's central argument here is this idea of imbalance. He sees women kind of, well, shirking is the word he uses, traditional duties.
Shirking, huh? Bold word choice.
Right. So we're talking like cooking, cleaning, the whole domestic scene. Even intimacy gets a mention.
Okay, I'm seeing where this is going.
But, and here's the kicker, he says women still expect men to hold up their end of the traditional bargain, right?
Right.
Being the breadwinner, fixing stuff around the house, that whole image.
So it's like, I want you to be the strong provider, bet tea. I don't want to cook you dinner. Is that the gist?
That's Dr. Cranium's take, yeah.
Yeah.
And he's built a whole, well, philosophy around it, you could say.
Which is why we're here, breakdown time. But before we go there, help me out here. What exactly are these traditional roles in the first place? Like, is this a 1950s sitcom situation, or are we talking something else?
Yeah, good point. I think that's where things get sticky. Because what's traditional has obviously shifted a lot, right?
Right.
But the core seems to be this. Men provide, protect, women nurture, maintain the home. At least that's the image a lot of people have, even if their own lives don't quite match up.
Right, because nowadays you've got women CEOs and stay-at-home dads and everything in between. So where does that leave Dr. Cranium's argument?
Well, that's what's fascinating, because on one hand, you have people, a lot of women actually, who totally agree with him. They say this shirking is real, and it's leading to like a breakdown in relationships.
Interesting. So for them, these traditional roles are still important, even if they're not the only way to do things?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They see it as a matter of respect, of showing your partner you care.
Okay, but I'm guessing not everyone's on board with that.
Oh, definitely not. We had tons of listeners pushing back hard. They said it's like totally outdated, reinforces stereotypes, that whole thing.
Which makes sense, right? We've come a long way from the whole women belong in the kitchen era.
Right. But here's the thing that I thought was really interesting. Even a lot of women who work, who are financially independent, said they still believe men should, like, step up in those traditional ways.
So it's more than just about who brings home the bacon, then. There's something deeper going on.
Right. And that's where things get really complex. Because is it about practicality, about who's better suited to certain tasks, or is it something more ingrained, societal conditioning, expectations passed down through generations?
Deep stuff, man.
Oh, and it gets deeper, because Dr. Cranium doesn't stop there. He talks about this, and I'm quoting here, Emancipation Proclamation of men. Basically, guys saying, enough is enough, I'm not putting up with this anymore.
So they're rebelling against this perceived unfairness.
Exactly. And it often leads to breakups. He gets calls from guys who are like heartbroken because they felt like they were giving, but not getting that same level of, well, traditional care in return.
Okay, but is that really the whole story? Or is it like maybe these guys just aren't great at communicating their needs? Or maybe they're not willing to adapt to how relationships are changing?
Right. It's that whole, is it the principle of the thing, or is it actually just bad communication?
Because honestly, if your partner's not pulling their weight, whatever that means to you, you got to talk about it, right? Bottling it up and then blowing up is not exactly a recipe for success.
Exactly. And this is where it gets, well, even more controversial. Because Dr. Cranium goes on to say that only, and I'm quoting again, exceptionally attractive women, tens he calls them, can get away with not fulfilling those traditional roles.
Whoa! Okay, so now we're bringing looks into it.
Yeah, he basically says that attractive women have more leverage in relationships. They have more options, so they can kind of, like, dictate the terms.
Oof. So is he saying that men will put up with anything as long as the woman is hot enough?
He doesn't say it in so many words,
Yeah.
but that's the implication, yeah.
Okay, so now we're really getting into power dynamics.
Huh?
And the role of physical appearance in relationships. And honestly, that's a whole other can of worms.
For sure. So we've covered a lot here. Traditional roles versus modern expectations, this idea of an unspoken contract, communication breakdowns, and even the role of, well, attractiveness. It's a lot to unpack.
No kidding. I feel like we've just scratched the surface here.
Right. But hopefully, it's given our listeners some food for thought, because at the end of the day, it's about finding what works for you and your partner. And that means having those tough conversations, figuring out expectations, and being willing to, adapt and compromise.
Totally. Because, let's be real, relationships are a two-way street, traditional or not.
Right. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. But maybe the real question is, as gender roles continue to evolve, what does a truly equitable and fulfilling relationship even look like?
Ooh, good one. I think I'll be pondering that one for a while.
Me too. And I bet our listeners will be too.
And isn't that the point of a good deep dive anyway? Leave them thinking.
Exactly. So thanks for diving in with us today, folks. And until next time, keep those conversations going, even the tough ones.
Peace out.
See ya.